So we have completed the presentation. There is no question. Then I am announcing the next presentation. This
Turkey. Aygül Yılmaz, Nuran ÇAVDAR, Zuhal Akdoğan, Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, General Directorate of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Turkey. Buyurun Aygül Hanım.
The floor is yours, Aygül Yılmaz.
Evet, ben sunacağım hocam. Öncelikle hani süremizin kısıtlı olmasından dolayı değerli araştırmacılar.
Since we have limited amount of time, I would like to thank everyone for their sharing, for their presentations. On my behalf and on behalf of my DG, I would like to greet everyone. My presentation is actually very similar to those delivered yesterday. You talked about poaching, trading, and breeding of the medicinal leech, and today I'll be talking about medicinal leech regulation within the framework of Turkish legislation. I'm just trying to share my screen with you all. Can you see my screen right now? Can you see my screen right now? Is there any problem? Can everyone see the screen? Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you very much. So first of all, we will talk about the administrative structure and the roles of our DG. When we look at the duties, we see that these are to determine rules for fishing and aquaculture, to protect water and fisheries resources, to determine the protected areas and aquaculture farms, to improve the productivity, to undertake activities regarding production, development, and research of fisheries resources, to collect and analyze fisheries data, and to control the management of fishing vessel ports. These are among our duties. When we look at the overall structure, we see that we are one of the 16 service units of the ministry, and we have 5 relevant departments: Fishing and Control Department, Aquaculture Department, Resource Management and Fisheries Structures, Statistics and Information Systems Department, and Coordination and Administrative Works Department. So these are 5 departments that we have under the DG. So about the poaching, commerce, and breeding of the medicinal leech, everything is regulated under those legal documents that you see on the screen. In general, if we look at the fisheries potential in Turkey, our total production is 836.5 tons, so 463 of fisheries, 373.5 is aquaculture. So we have sea bass, sea bream, trout among the most common species. Actually, we reached our aim of $1 billion in 2019, so we have a huge sector of fisheries and aquaculture. When we look at the other species, we have the medicinal leech among the common species, so we have a huge breeding and production capacity within medicinal leech. In Turkey, when we look at the aquaculture, actually Naim, Mustafa, and Osman already provided some overall information on the aquaculture, but I'll be talking about fish farms, how they are established, how the aquaculture farms are established. I'd like to inform you all about it. So the farming is allowed in the areas determined by the ministry. So the ministry has the overall responsibility for the establishment. While establishing net cage farms, what to be careful about? It needs to be at least 1.1 kilometers offshore, at least 30 meters of water depth, and the flow velocity should be at least 0.1 second. And as the DG in ponds and natural lakes, we are not allowing farming, and in dam lakes up to 3% of the lake area, the breeding is allowed for aquaculture purposes. While establishing a facility, how to receive applications, I would like to talk about the process. So in all aquaculture and medicinal leech aquaculture, the processes are carried out under Fisheries Law numbered 1380. And It's under the relevant DG of aquaculture. And how to apply, you might ask. So I'll just briefly summarize. First of all, you need to apply to the provincial directorate of the Ministry of Aquaculture and Forestry in your own provinces. The technical personnel will evaluate the proposal, and if deemed suitable and feasible, it's submitted to the central level ministry. And then about the establishment of the facility, if there is no challenge, then as a result of the evaluation, we give a preliminary permission. After receiving the preliminary permission, within 1 year, the applicants are given a year to prepare a project. So what is within the project? Let me talk about those. There needs to be the technical details of aquaculture, production plan, which species to be produced, so detailed information on the species, the expenses of the fixed investment, operational expenses, profitability. So these are involved in the file, and this is submitted for the approval of the ministry, and since the leech is also within the responsibility of the ministry approves. Once the project is approved, they complete their investment, they start aquaculture, and later on they receive the certificate of being a producer. As I said before, since it's among the new species category, while carrying out on-site audit, we send the technical personnel and the administrative personnel over to the field, and if the person is deemed suitable, then they are granted with a certificate. You can see an aquaculture registration certificate on the screen. This is a sample. I just covered the relevant personal information with black color, but this is how the certificate looks like. This is like an ID of the facility. This is like an ID of the plant. So what's the capacity, current production capacity, the amount of water used for production purposes, the type of the facility, whether it's the tank or the concrete pools or the net cages. So for the medicinal leech, this is not possible though. The type of the facility, the species allowed in scientific language, also the ownership of the land. These are all indicated within the certificate. And also the approval date, rental dates about water and the land, and the coordinates of the plot. These are all shared on the certificate. During the previous presentations, this was already mentioned, but I would like to go through this again. Maybe the total capacities may change by now, but especially in medicinal leech, the number of units would be much more appropriate. We have 8 facilities, and per year the production is 8,172 kgs and 7,822,000 pieces per year. And currently there are other facilities awaiting for an approval, and the total capacity will be around 2.5 tons, so 3,620 pieces. These are the projects allowed. In the upcoming years, around 10 tons of production potential will be achieved. In Turkey, let's talk about the poaching. So, the Turkish citizens, real persons, can do the collection. They need to obtain fisheries license for real persons, as you see on the screen. For the products collected, a special product certificate of origin is issued. It's forbidden to transport, sell, store, and process of leeches that do not have the certificate. Between 1st of March and 30th of June, leech collecting is prohibited. So each year this is regulated under a communique, and the relevant technical experts' opinions are obtained to publish this communique. Before the ban of collection date, the products can be obtained, and it's necessary to transport within 10 days. In the controls and inspections carried out by the ministry in 2020, 17.5 kg of leech seized, and a fine of 161,000 Turkish lira was imposed. So detailed information was provided about those contracts, about those agreements. So we will talk about the duties as a sites authority. We are responsible for approvals and the permissions and permits regarding export permits, re-export permits, preparing annual report and biannual report, performing the return of samples if necessary, and determining the value of illegal samples. These are the CITES relevant duties of the DG. As you know, in Annex 2 of CITES, the medicinal leech is listed. Therefore, international trade is carried out within the CITES certificate. It's prepared in 2 copies. You can see them on the screen. The blue banded one is kept within the directorate, and the yellow banded one is sent to the company to export transaction. So for the collected leech in 2020, we have 2,000 kgs of quota, but the realized amount is not certain yet. Within the country, the use is also allowed under GETAT. So in treatment, it has a widespread use. From the facilities, the products are obtained and they are used within the country. But for export, there has been a couple of applications received. From the facilities, we may show some pictures. The one on the left from Eğirdir, the other one is from Manisa. Again, from Eğirdir, we have the broodstock jars stored in the jars. This photo is about it. And this is the second facility from Kayseri. Again, this is the construction phase of the facility. You can see the final version. As I said about feeding, the relevant analyses are made on the blood in the lab, and then the blood is used for feeding purposes. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to thank Ms. Zuhal and Aygül for their contribution. I would like to also greet all the colleagues from the DEG, especially General Director, Deputy Directors, and Ms. Nimet. Thank you very much for your contribution to my presentation. If you have any questions, I would be very happy to receive those. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. With the yesterday's presentation, we were normally beyond the timing, but for now it seems like we still have time, so I tried to be brief as much as possible. Thank you very much for the effective use of time. Thank you very much. I'm very thankful. So if you have questions, we can receive too. Mr. Hussein, please. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. I don't want to take much of your time. Thank you very much, Ms. Nuran, for your nice presentation. So, Aquaculture Department of the DG is fulfilling its duties to a large extent, I would say. So we would like to go beyond what we are doing in a nationwide manner. So we want to get the products from the farms completely. So we would like to disseminate the practices. About it, do you have a specific policy as the ministry or as the DG? Thank you very much. Are you talking about the dissemination of the production facilities, aquaculture facilities? Yes, this is a new topic on the agenda. The number is increasing day by day, but as we said before, to preserve nature and the human health, we have been putting lots of efforts in the medicinal leech production because it's very open for exploitation. Of course, we are still continuing to work on it. This workshop has been an important step taken. In the upcoming period, I believe the works and the activities will increase. And by the Eğirdir Institute, the certificate is about to be obtained. So in the upcoming future, I believe the number of facilities will increase naturally. Thank you very much, Ms. Nuran. Another question. Maduma Melek, you mentioned wonderful thing from Iran. I actually attach a great importance to it. We are one of the limited number of people working on leech in Turkey. Me and my colleagues are working on it. So maybe we can create a similar committee here, a national committee here working on medicinal leech, maybe under the auspices of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. Maybe the ministry can organize such a committee, such a national committee, just like they have in Iran, like Ms. Maduma mentioned. And Ms. Maduma mentioned maybe we can even establish a regional committee. So after establishing a national committee, maybe we can take a step to establish a regional committee. Would it be possible? Of course, it's perfectly possible. And on my behalf, I am very ready to provide my support and contribution. Thank you very much. Of course, it's possible. And we are making research all the time with Mr. Naim, Mustafa. We have been cooperating very closely. And leech is a very specific topic. I am an aquaculture engineer, but to be honest, even though I don't have a PhD, got too familiar with leech only after starting working for the DG. I don't know as much as Mr. Naim, Mustafa. I do not know as much as the researchers do. So I do not maybe have a saying in that, but I would like to underline that they have contributed a lot to our work. But you are right, we can create a national committee and we can create even a regional committee with the other countries. So this can be evaluated after the outputs of this workshop are compiled. Thank you very much. Sevgi Teski, I think you have a question. We said 2 questions. After receiving the last question, we can continue with the other presentation. Please, over to you now.
Yes, I've got a question. First of all, thank you for your nice, useful presentation. The question is as following: is there a specific legislation which forbids usage of medicinal leaches that are collected from the nature? Is there a law that prohibits usage of such leaches collected from the natural habitat? Because as far as I know, there is such issue.
Nuran Hanım, alabildiniz mi sorunu?
Yani
çevirisi.
Sorumuzu aslında öğleden sonra daire başkanımız Mehmet
Actually, in the afternoon, this question can be answered by another colleague in the afternoon. Currently, what's the practice? I don't know. As far as I know, only the farmed products are being used, but maybe Mr. Hussein can answer to this question. So we are only responsible for the certification of the farming facilities. Our responsibility ends there. But whether it's used in medicine, it's up to the Ministry of Health. If he is not there, I can answer that question if you like. Normally, in 2014, traditional and complementary medicine regulation was enacted in our country. And as per the regulation, there has been a standard introduced with regards to medicinal leech. And it includes the training, education, practice, implementation, everything. So it covers all the standards, and the standards were created by the Ministry of Health. And the most important point within was that Mr. Naim is talking about it for many years. Each leech can be used only for once and for one patient only, and it cannot be reused for another patient. So this is a standard that has been introduced many years ago. And apart from that, those leeches collected from the nature are not very trusted because we don't know on which blood they have fed themselves on. Therefore, they may transmit any zoonotic diseases. Therefore, they are not used in medicinal purposes. And so, as per the law, they cannot use for medicinal purposes. Therefore, all the collected ones from the nature are not used in medicine. Only those farmed at the facilities can be used for medicinal purposes. Thank you very much.
Evet, ben hem Sergey Uchevski'ye sorusu için
Ms. Sergey, thank you very much for your question and for the presentations, for the questions. I would like to thank everyone for your contribution, for participating in this session. So now I would like to move to the next session. Thank you very much.